So Casey, who are you and why are you obsessed with demons and emotions?
Well, I don't know that I would say obsessed with demons is the most accurate description for me. But I will say my experience with demons has shifted in my life. So I grew up religious, so I first started hearing about demons, or at least like the influence of the devil, from an early age. But honestly, as a kid, I was like so terrified of anything paranormal. So even the stories of angels were just kind of almost as scary to me as the stories of demons. And I've come to appreciate it's because I don't like being startled. So any figure all of a sudden just popping up in my life and wanting something from me was like, oh, that was like the worst thing I could imagine. Um, but my family, so like even around that time, my family really loved watching Unsolved Mysteries on TV. This was the 90s and it was like the original with Robert Stack. And it was never the stories of like the unsolved murders and the serial killers who are still at large that scared me. It was always the ghost stories that terrified me. And every time my family wanted to watch the show, again, this was the 90s, we had like one TV in our house and we had cable sometimes. And so it was just like whatever was on was what you were watching. And I would always have this battle of, do I go and let more information about all the ghosts who could possibly come and terrorize me come into my head by sitting with my family? So at least I'm not alone and watching Unsolved Mysteries? Or do I go to my room and leave? And they'd also watch it with the lights off, like weirdos who are inviting chaos into their lives. I was like, do you guys want poltergeist? What's going on? Anyway, I would usually go to my room, turn every single light on, have the door closed, and like hum and sing to myself and just like pray that an angel or a demon or ghost of any kind wouldn't show up in my room. Um, so the reason I've become obsessed with emotions, if you can imagine from all of that, I had some pretty intense experiences growing up where sometimes being inside my own head was pretty scary. And so as soon as I started to learn about emotions and really that all that anxiety I was experiencing was really my brain just trying to prepare me for something that I was scared of so that I would know what to do. And when I realized like, oh, okay. So it's not that my brain doesn't belong to me and my body is like possessed by something else. It's just that I don't know how to like understand what everything's trying to communicate to me. And I also didn't have enough like life experience to come to any other sort of conclusion. When that changed as I became older, it was like, oh, okay. And so once I learned more about like mental models and emotional processing and did years of therapy, I was able to come to appreciate that, like, okay, I don't know that like ghosts or demons or anything or even angels appearing or anything that I really need to worry about so much as I just need to learn how to kind of get insight into what's happening inside me and, you know, realize that the world isn't haunted and that I can
But
actually like experience it with some fun.
do you watch scary movies?
Oh, not well, okay, so even that has kind of shifted because when I was a child, I couldn't do anything remotely scary. I had a very active imagination, as you might have guessed. And so yeah, I remember even a movie we watched as a kid, The Watcher in the Woods, which is a Disney movie and it was rated PG. Um, but it was like it had a lot of like paranormal stuff in it.
Yeah,
That terrified me. So there's like
yeah.
no blood or gore. It was just some like weird stuff happening and I couldn't handle it. So when I was a kid, no scary movies. The first time I watched a scary movie and felt okay was when I watched The Sixth Sense. And that's because I appreciate when people give you solutions. And so it was like, yeah, this thing was happening in this kid's life. But once I learned that, like, if you just talk to ghosts, that's sometimes all they need, I was like, okay, whew. That was like the first time I felt comfortable about ghosts and paranormal stuff. And this was before I had gotten to the place where I am now. Now I can watch scary movies and I'm okay.
Yeah. Did you
But
ever read like the Goosebumps books?
no, my aunt knew I loved to read as a kid, and
Yeah.
she I liked mysteries. But when I was talking about mysteries, I meant like Nancy Drew and stuff like that. It was a lot more. That's why I found Scooby Doo so comforting because again, Nancy Drew, Scooby Doo, they were all using like logic and reason to kind of point out that the world wasn't necessarily as scary as my brain was want to think it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my aunt though, she gave me for my birthday some Goosebumps books, and they weren't like the original Goosebumps. They were like the ones that he wrote for like kids who are a little bit older and could handle more scary stuff and age
Okay.
appropriate for me.
Yeah.
But I hated them because I was like so terrified. And it was like one was about, of course, like a ventriloquist dummy that was on a murder spree. So yeah, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, even though I knew no ventriloquists. But the weird thing is now that I'm thinking about it, now that we're talking about it, I asked my mom one time when we were at Walmart, and I was probably like 11, but they had these little clowns, porcelain clowns that were like
So terrifying.
wind up musical toys, and it like slowly rotated like this
Oh,
and played the entertainer. And for whatever reason in my head, I was like, that's classy and not terrifying. And I asked my mom for it, and she was like, okay. And she got it for me.
do you still have it?
Oh, I like once I got a little bit older and I was like, this isn't classy and honestly kind of scary. I got rid of it. But
It's so freaky. Well, and maybe it was something like physical, like it wasn't in your imagination. It was like something tactile.
yeah. Maybe I read that R.L. Stein book and I was like, I don't have a ventriloquist dummy, but this clown surely can't be can't be a vessel for anything good.
No, are you kidding? No.
Um, what about you? Who are you, Chelsea? And why are you obsessed with demons and emotions?
Yes. So I grew up really religious. So there was like a lot of religious frameworks. Also, my dad, he grew up in like a two denomination family, and him and his brother, they call it like the religion wars because like his parents just could not decide on like what religion to raise the boys in. And so there was a lot of obvious trauma there, but that trauma for both my dad and my uncle, their way to cope with it is just to make fun of it and to be like super sacrilegious and to say things that are like kind of inappropriate or blur the lines of like appropriateness for religion. So I always grew up with like, we take religion very seriously, but you also have to have like a sense of humor about it. And I've always been like fascinated by just religions, like all religions, like what they teach, how they impact people's lives. I don't have obviously a degree in theology, but this is also just like maybe it's some undiagnosed ADHD. But I love learning and I love like hearing other people's experiences. Documentaries are my favorite type of movies. Biographies are my favorite type of books. I just love hearing how religion impacts people and how they use it as kind of like a guideline to like make every single decision you can possibly imagine. And it was always just so fascinating to me. So I definitely got really into demons and into like angels and into witches and into whatever denomination out there. I probably had a little stint with it. Um, or just like a knowledge kind of like poke around and not necessarily go to a church or go immerse myself too much into the religion, but just like poke around and see and listen to other people's stories. Um, Emotions. I got really into emotions when I was 26 and burnt myself out building a pumpkin festival, which is kind of ironic looking back on it because there's a lot of like ghouls and ghosts and like spooky things.
You
Uh,
channeled all those demons into your life and they brought
yeah, yes. They brought the demons out of me
Mhm.
in the form of burnout. And then I realized, like, I went on this really long journey of the reason why my life felt so out of control and why I was burning myself out and overextending myself. And just becoming a workaholic was solely because I was trying to stay busy to run away from confronting or even just feeling emotions. And then once I started learning more about what emotions are, how our brain constructs emotions, that emotions are just clues, and started opening myself up to like feeling them and sitting with them and learning from them and coloring them, that's when I realized like, oh, emotions are actually really cool. And they're not this like really big scary thing that I think people like to equate them to. Like they definitely are not rules, they're not directives. So yeah, I've just been kind of on this quest to help people realize that emotions can be fun and emotions are just information and sometimes they are so heavy and gnarly to like sit in, but you don't have to sit in them long and you can gather a lot of really cool information from them.
So Chelsea, what do you remember about when we first met? And did you pick up any demon energy from me?
My memory, the first time I remember meeting you was we had a mutual friend. We attended the same like church in Salt Lake. And we had a mutual friend that introduced us because she thought we'd become fast friends. And so I remember meeting you in a church pew.
Okay. Okay.
And then we ended up talking, I literally think we ended up talking about Hall and Oates, and just like our love of Hall and Oates and our love of music and our love of moving around, or just like our shared experiences of like moving around a lot as a kid and kind of just like, I'll say we coined the term together, but our gypsy hearts and just needing new experiences and kind of our love of novelty and how that kind of fuels us. So that's actually my first memory of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I
You
guess
didn't have any demon energy though, because honestly, if anyone who loves Hall and Oates, I'm like, you pass the demon check. Like,
Also, we were in a church, so we had sanctuary from the demons.
yeah, it's true. Or we were there to like
Or what kind of church was it?
yeah, it's true.
They didn't have demon energy. I like your reasoning that if you like Hall and Oates, probably you don't have demon energy.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there are some of my friends like do not like Hall and Oates, and there's a little part of me that thinks like maybe there's a little demon energy in them. How
Hmm.
can you not? Like, I get Hall and Oates are like kind of in a rocky spot right now, and it makes me really sad. But maybe they're the ones that have the demon energy.
Say, listen, to every great music relationship, there's a demon that usually comes out and breaks
Yeah, so sad.
it. Happens.
So Casey, what do you do when you're not talking about demons?
Yeah. Well, now that I've moved on from demons, I'm really fascinated by centaurs. No, I'm kidding. So I'm a speech language pathologist. Currently I'm working at a school, but I've worked in other settings in the past. And then when I'm not doing that, I have two dogs. I hang out with them a lot. I like to hike and be outside and be outdoors. I like listening to music and going to concerts. I'm very good at watching TV and I love getting wrapped up in like a new show. I like to read. I dabble in crafts and creativity, but I'm not a good like hobbyist. If something is going to take more than a few hours to complete, then I've like lost interest. Um, I can't dedicate a whole lot of focused energy to one thing. So I do enjoy coming doing creative things, but I have limits on what I can do creatively, especially the amount of time it takes to do them. But yeah, otherwise, like honestly, I'm just kind of a nerd. And I just hang out with myself because I enjoy my company. Yeah. Anyway, what about you, Chelsea? When you're not thinking about demons or talking about them, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm coloring most of the days. Most of my days revolve around coloring, primarily because I teach people self-regulation skills and how they feel emotions in their body through coloring. And then when I'm not doing that, I also have two dogs. Yay for the two dog club. Uh, got two Shiba Inus who are full of sass and stubbornness and just typical Shibas and high energy. So they we spend my husband and I we spend a lot of time with them. We love going on hikes and camping and traveling and just being outside. We live in Texas, so it's just not humane to be outside for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Um,
You've got like that window of several months when it's okay to be outside, and then you have like the other half of the year when it's like not fun to be outside.
yeah, so 100%. That's really it though. Just art, food, dogs, husband, and family and friends. I'm pretty social. Like,
Yeah. I like how and that's it turned into like eight more things after.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's like a lot of how my brain works is like, oh, like definitely this. And I'm like, wait, but all of these other things. So yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, Casey, why this podcast now?
So as you and I've talked about, we wanted to like is okay. So as we were getting ready to talk and share the last video that we did, which was just about how sensory processing plays into emotions and emotional development, I don't know, the joke came up about how, well, we were both talking about how, because we grew up in religious families, at some point, talk of demons and demon possession had somehow come up in our lives, and also been sort of given as an actual reason for experiences that people were having. Um, and as we were talking, there was a joke that was made about maybe we should do another video called "Is Your Child Possessed or Are They Just Normal?" Because in my case, there had been mentioned before by one of my parents that they were worried that I was being influenced by a demon. That really stuck with me. It also happened when I was like 12, so a pretty formative time in my life. And as we have established, I already had a pretty wild imagination. So the thought then that this terrible thing that I was fearing had actually happened um, was pretty rough. But then as I got older, I learned that, again, there were some other emotional processes and mental health reasons for the way I was experiencing life and acting and responding to it. And so that's kind of what we're talking about is like the more information you can have about developmental processes, about the role of emotions in your life, how they're formed, the easier it is to actually address what's going on. Because again, emotions are information. And once you can realize what these emotions are communicating to you, then it makes it easier to know what's actually happening and then take correct steps versus low key thinking that maybe a demon is hanging out with you throughout puberty. And listen, if you've ever watched Netflix's show Big Mouth, they literally have puberty monsters who hang out with you. But I definitely wasn't getting the vibe that the demon that was suspected to possibly be around me was not puberty. It was just straight up Beelzebub. So I'm always happy to like talk about this just because I would rather people have correct information. And also, I mean, knowledge is power. So once you know what's actually happening, once you can kind of sleuth it out, and then it's a lot easier to go through life without feeling as much. I mean, you're just empowered to go through life a little bit better because you know what's actually happening, and it's easier to feel like you can actually be an active participant in your life versus just kind of letting it happen to you. There are already enough things outside of our control, so I like the idea too of helping people realize like yeah, you can process emotions and kind of go through life thinking about what you're experiencing in a different way so that the things you do have control over can actually feel a little bit more resolved or more I don't know, more like you're participating in your life. Yeah, well, what about you? Why are you doing this podcast now?
Casey, I've told you this like so many times, but even just like talking with you about like past experiences and not necessarily like I think you were the first friend that I've had, and this has like been true for like years, but you were the first friend that really kind of stood out to me as like you can talk about like all the really kind of silly or like little t trauma or just like the past experiences that maybe there's still a little bit of shame or like um around, but do it in a way that isn't like it's not getting stuck in it. And it doesn't feel heavy, like it's not trauma bonding, it's not trauma dumping. It's literally just saying, like, hey, this is what I experienced and this is what I learned from it. And like I can have a laugh at myself because like it's just a human experience at the end of the day, and we're really not that special. Like all of us aren't that special. Like we all have these really kind of wild and unpredictable things that happen to us because we're all just humans, like trying our best and running around bumping into each other and impacting other people. And some experiences are much better than others, but doing it in a way that actually brings healing and more understanding versus like just getting stuck in it. So I wanted to create a space to where we could like model that to other people and say, like you said, knowledge is power. So hopefully shed some light on pretty common misconceptions, but also just get people to be really curious about their own experiences and not get stuck in it. I mean, for years I was stuck in like inner child work, and I had this like belief that I had to go back and talk about every single traumatic thing that has ever happened to me in order to like become a better human and to experience inner peace. And that's like not the case at all. So just being able to use the knowledge that you have, get curious about experiences that you've had in the past, and then how to talk about them in a way that's not blaming other people, not blaming yourself, not blaming um not being the victim, but just in a, like a very kind of lighthearted, sincere, authentic way that I think really does propel people or propel you to a place where you can experience a little bit more peace and a little bit more just like understanding of yourself and understanding of your needs, and just being able to feel a little bit more balanced, more than you feel now.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I mean, you kind of already answered it, but do you want to speak any more to what you hope people get from hanging out with us?
Yeah, just laugh. I think that's the biggest thing that I would add on it, of like just how we view the world and how we view our role in the world. That it's not, I used to think too that there would just be like this arrival point of, once I learned a specific thing or got a specific skill or hit a specific achievement or um did something cool, that I would just be set and I could just like coast. But just realizing that because we are human, because we have bodies, because we live with other people and have live in communities, and um, it's life is always going to be changing, and our mental models can change and can update, and that we can kind of laugh about like what may have not been serving us well or what doesn't serve us well now. Like there's not, with mental models, like there's a reason they're there. They kept us safe, they got our needs met, so grateful for them. And because we change and grow, they can change and grow too. But what else would you say, Casey? What else would you hope that people get out of this?
I like how you said it. I want people to realize that whatever you're experiencing now and whatever mental models and interpretations of emotions you have now, as you said, have been serving you. Your brain and your body are trying to keep you alive. And if you're listening to this, congrats. So far, it's been doing its job.
Thank you for
But
spending some time with us in your aliveness.
exactly, like it's nice that you're sharing parts of your precious life with us.
Yeah.
Um, but I also, from my own experience, I know it's a pretty crummy experience to think that something's like cosmically wrong with you.
Yes.
When really you're just a person that's experiencing a fairly standard emotion or mental health issue, or just you're otherwise acting in a way that's like makes sense for the developmental stage you're in or the amount of resources you have available to you, you know? And I kind of hope, like I like the idea of having this podcast with you because I just want to help people, like you said, realize that you can revisit times you've misunderstood other people, or other people, especially other people, have misunderstood you or misinterpreted what you were going through, or maybe
Yeah.
misinterpreted maybe you were the one misinterpreting, and find a way to like learn from that experience, process whatever emotions are there, but not, like you said, let it get them stuck. Because one of the, it's just again, we get one, sweet and precious life. It's nice when we can actually live it and be present for it. And
Yeah.
one of the ways to do that is just to be able to be present with yourself. And that means having to be aware of what your body's trying to communicate to you, learn from that emotion and learn from that experience, and then do what you can to move forward with that information. Plus, like, I'm, in my middle age. And so I have all this hard-earned wisdom. But as I said before, I live with two dogs and they don't care. They don't care what insights I've gotten. So hopefully I could like barf some of my wisdom on other people who might actually appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, if they only knew how good they had it.
I I tell them that all the time. And then
Yeah.
they still grumble like I'm just not doing enough.
I know. Oh, little do they know.
Do they know?
Oh, okay. Ready for episode one?
Yes, let me change back. Let me get in the confessional.
Let's go get in the confessional.